When I look at the stars, I feel inspired and I feel awestruck.
Looking at the stars generally, it gives me a sense of joy and wonder and curiosity. It's just a way to see what is beyond.
One of the first memories that I had of Taos was how remarkably dark it was. There were literally 7 streetlights. To see the Milky Way the way I saw it then was jaw-dropping.
For my whole life, I've been able every night to look up and see just amazing night skies. And it's so awe-inspiring as a child that it just kind of naturally led me in that direction of, I want to know more about what's out there.
That sense of wonder that comes with looking at the sky can lead you in all sorts of directions.
I feel connected to the rest of the universe. I realize that the light that's traveling to me from the stars and Andromeda Galaxy, which is the most distant naked eye object that we can see.
That's 2.5 million light years away, and I can see it without a binoculars. Those are very precious things that we should treasure.
And that gives me a real visceral, profound connection with the whole universe and this whole timeline.
Dark Skies is talking specifically about how do we keep light pollution from becoming too severe to the point where it's disrupting animal activity, sleep patterns, night sky visibility.
Light pollution comes because people want to illuminate their property so they can find their way in or make sure that there's nobody sneaking around trying to get where they shouldn't be.
It's light that shines in your eyes when it should be shining on the ground to illuminate something, or shining on a building or a doorway or whatever. It's light that escapes into the sky.
Extra light pollution spoils our connection to the stars, and we can spoil the sky by making the light around us so bright that we can't see the stars and the planets.
In Taos, we have beautiful dark skies, but in places like Albuquerque or cities that have a larger city population, the skies are a lot harder to see, especially at night. So when you're in the cities, you can't see the stars.
250 years ago, everyone could see the Milky Way, no matter where they lived. Nowadays, 80% of the people on this planet do not see the Milky Way on a regular basis.
We have been, through technology and modernization, become really out of sync with natural cycles of light. It's an opportunity to really think about the importance of our environment and how we engage with it on a day-to-day basis.
The way that we perceive the sky, it affects everyone. It affects us. It affects animals.
With light pollution, there's more to it than just the night sky. A big thing is how it impacts wildlife. That stuff trickles down and it leads to other problems in the future if we don't have animals thriving.
All animals on the planet have evolved under the normal diurnal cycle, day-night, and the cycles of the moon and so forth.
It affects the migration paths of a large number of species, birds particularly.
Not so relevant here in New Mexico, but sea turtles, disturbed by lights in cities on a beach, when they hatch, they are programmed to go towards sources of light. In olden times, the only sources of light that they had were light reflected from the waves. Nowadays, half of them go towards the city on the beach instead, and so they perish that way.
It's not just the sky that gets spoiled by light pollution, the effect it can have on plant species and affecting their growing cycles. I saw a wonderful picture once of a soy field in Alabama, I think it was, and it was on the side of a road, and the soy in most of the field was ready to be harvested. But on the soy that was close to the road, near a lamppost with a bright light on it, was still green and wasn't ready to be harvested. And they'd all received the same sunlight.
Our cities are so brightly lit that we have lost a lot of what our ancestors appreciated on a nightly basis.
It also holds different cultural meanings and revelations. Everyone has a certain sort of hold on what the stars mean to them. And so if we start forgetting about that, we lose touch with what we perceive as our culture.
It's pretty simple changes, like how do we put audiences on street lights or building lights at night? And it makes a huge difference.
Things have moved much faster, I think, for the community than what our code enforcement officials have been able to keep up with. Those rules go back probably about 25 years ago. The time when those codes were written, there were no such things. LED lighting, or for that matter, compact fluorescence, didn't even exist.
With dark skies, it's not a complete shut down all light. There's a lot of wiggle room within that. Well, even just how do we change light fixtures that maybe have light 360 degrees to just pointing at the ground, or different tints in light.
A higher spectrum Kelvin puts out a lot more blue light, which actually interferes tremendously with what you see in the sky. In other words, it'll carry and it'll drown out the starlight much, much more than, say, a yellow light.
Security and infrastructure, this is what we always come up against. What exactly do you mean by being secure? What do you mean by being safe? It's important to be able to find your way at night. How do you want to protect your car that's sitting outside your house? Having a bright light that's shining on it all the time is overkill.
There's always that balance to strike between, keeping safe spaces for the public or for your home, and also being mindful of how we're changing the environment.
There's definitely a lot of pros to the dark sky movement, but a lot of the times when you hear about cons, it's mostly things about light fixtures, having to restructure and reorganize a lot of different things that are already pre-existing. It might take a bit of time, a bit of money, but in the long run, it'll help everyone.
And it's not difficult to do. It's not super expensive. It just means you use light when you need it and not when you don't need it. And you only point the light where it needs to be, and you don't use more light than you need to.
As bulbs die, or you want to be a little bit more aggressive, change them to a low color temperature. Also make sure that things point down so there's no spillage. It's really simple. It could be as simple as turning a light off when you're not needing it, which of course saves energy, which is always, a play in my book.
If you think that you can't make a difference, you can. You can reach out to, any government working in your city or town talk about what the night sky means to you. And your voice makes an impact. And so you can be part of the reason why we have amazing night skies. And so that is, I think, a big takeaway.
When you look up to the sky, you're looking at something that happened millions and millions of years ago. You know, I look up and I see light that actually was produced when the dinosaurs walked the earth. And that to me is a really, just an utterly fascinating thing to think about.
Clearly something that happens as part of our humanity, right? The wonder, it expands the mind, it opens the world to pay attention to things that are just a little bit beyond. I think it's critical for our children to have opportunities to engage that critical thinking and that curiosity.
The reason I think we should look at the stars and all be able to look at the stars, first of all, we make that connection to our, what we've called the ancestral skies, the connection to something that is far away, and yet people have always looked at them and wondered. Different cultures have different stories, but every culture's got stories. So if we can't see the stars or the planets or anything else, then we're not only losing connections to our stories, but we're losing the majesty and the inspiration we can get from looking at them.